back to the official Sasquatch and Squirrel Show. Today, we're going to discuss the infamous Area 51.
Woohoo.
It is a place shrouded in deep mystery.
I enjoy Area 51 stories, stuff like that, because, sometimes they're just super incredible.
Sometimes they are, especially when you hear someone like Bob Lazar, as we mentioned him before on the show,
Right.
you know, he was, allegedly working there, or he worked there,
Well, he worked at
but
S4, which is,
that's for, yeah. But anyways, I mean, it's that place has been the center of a lot of controversy, a lot of discussion, a lot of, debate really as to what's actually happening there. And we're going to give our opinion as to what we think could or could not be going on there.
yeah.
I personally think it's just a military installation where they do research, R&D, and maybe propulsion systems or something like that. That's what I think. But obviously other people have other opinions, and that's the way it should be.
I'll begin this whole thing by giving a history lesson about Area 51. Do you know why Area 51 was built?
Not off the top of my head.
Everybody has heard about the great political dick bumping contest between Russia and USA, right?
Well, you mean like the Cold War,
That is correct.
right?
All right, the Cold War started on March 12th, 1947, and it lasted until the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991.
Hmm.
The Cold War started due to disagreements over how Germany and Eastern Europe was going to be managed. Basically, because the USSR wanted to have a buffer zone to keep their country safe, and also they wanted to spread communism into the country.
Right,
Ultimately, the Allied forces and the USSR couldn't agree to the terms, and ta-da, Cold War.
right,
So, due to the growing threat of nuclear war and wanting to basically have a leg up in the military game, we needed to build a spy plane that could reach targets deep inside the USSR, now Russia, undetected.
so something like the SR-51 Blackbird.
Yes, but
Yeah.
that was the second project, and I'll get into that here in a minute. But the American craft were vulnerable due to the radar detection because surface to air missiles and fighter jets could easily own the targets. So they needed a place that was so secure from the outside world that no one could easily access it. So nothing on the coastline and nothing like right in the middle of a suburban area.
A desert would be more, isolated from prying eyes. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Correct. So the best place for this was a area that was a test area that was off of Nellis Air Force Base, and this area was at Groom Lake, which is a dry lake bed.
Right.
And the whole reason why they chose that lake bed is because it would act like a landing area for any aircraft that they were going to be working on, so they didn't have to really build too big of a runway.
Yeah, they could keep the infrastructure down to a minimum with that kind of stuff.
The reason why the Air Force Base had to be built out of sight, out of mind was because there was a lot of Russian espionage happening around that time,
Right.
and nobody knew who they could really trust.
Yeah, because during that time, we had spies, they had spies, and that's the whole thing about the Cold War is it's a war without bullets. It's basic, like acts of espionage or proxy wars been waged and all that kind of stuff. So it's just us looking at them looking at us.
Right. So the first program that was ushered in by espionage and this wanting to have aerial espionage was Project Aquatone, and that was for the U-2 spy plane known as the Dragon Lady, and it was developed by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works division, which
Wait a minute, Aquaton wasn't that a hairspray? Oh,
possible
I'm thinking. Oh, wait a minute, I'm thinking of Aquanet. I am so sorry.
Aquanet. It definitely
Yeah,
not your
that's
daddy's uh,
hairband,
stuff like
hairband.
Aqua Velvet or whatever the fuck it was.
Aqua Velva. Oh god, that stuff's terrible. It's like it might as well just put gasoline on your face.
Might as well, right?
Same thing with Aquanet. Putting again, it's just putting diesel in your hair.
Yeah, I think that was what hairspray, wasn't
Yeah, it was. That's why we have no ozone layer.
it? Right. I want to talk about some of the aircraft that was R&D at Area 51. So
Mm-hmm.
the one that you were talking about with the SR-71 Blackbird,
Mm-hmm.
that was a two-part project called Project Oxcart. and they created the A-12 or the Archangel 12, which
Mhm.
was a one-seater, and the SR-71 Blackbird, which was a two-seater. And these right here were like hypersonic jets, some of the fastest that we've ever made.
I forget what the altitude record for the SR-71 is, but it's almost pre-orbit. It's way up there.
Like 70,000 feet or something like that. That's a long way up.
It's something fucking ridiculous. For some people that don't understand that, to get up that high, the fuel, the, structure of the plane,
Mhm.
it's all gotta be tempered for that type of environment.
Right, and that's one of the big problems that they were having because, like, up that high, the fuel was actually starting to either freeze or,
Yeah,
dissipate. It wasn't doing what it was supposed to do.
correct.
Here's a funny one. I would never imagine in a million years to come up with a project with this name. It was called Project Have Donut.
Have donut? Like
Yep,
you can have a donut? Okay, that's
yep. Project Have Donut.
okay.
And basically, what this one was is when they covertly obtained a Soviet MiG 21 that was largely due to an Iraqi pilot who was a defector to Israel.
Mhm.
It was reverse engineered, and we learned a lot about its performance. And basically, the jet that was supposedly the big scary jet the Russians had, they were saying how crazy fast it was. Actually, it wasn't any faster than the American jets, but the only thing that it had different was a tighter turn radius,
Right.
so it could outmaneuver our guys.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know anything about avionics or anything like I'm very ignorant to that kind of stuff, but one, my crippling fear of heights keeps me on the ground.
Yeah,
So that would be a big no for me. But no, like I
I tell you, they fuck up a good airplane trying to push me out of one going parachuting. Oh my god, there'd be claw marks all over that some bitch.
well, you're never gonna get me in the airplane to begin with, unless I have at least two Ambien on board.
Or there you go. All right. Another project that was declassified was codename Have Blue. And I think
Who the fuck comes up with these names? Sorry to interrupt you, but have blue, have donut, have ass itch. I mean, come- what the fuck?
careful, that one's probably classified.
It probably is. It, like, goddamn, dude. Like, I mean, these guys are fucking smart, aren't they? Like, you can't think of a better name than, you know?
You got to think too. The reason why they chose these names was these are project names that you just wouldn't say in standard conversation. So with the everybody having their lines tapped and stuff like that, it's
Oh,
easy to pick up at the conversation. That's what the
well,
NSA is listening for, possibly.
I mean, it's not hard to say, hey, you want to go have a donut? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, but that's have a donut, not have donut.
Okay, if it makes sense to you, then that's all that matters.
It does. It
Okay,
does.
good. All right, good. All right. Because it
I
just,
mean, and you got to think have blue.
mhm.
What are we having? And what is blue? You know,
Right.
so it's
Yeah,
like,
well, you know, I get it. But it's just,
all right,
I mean, yeah, I just find it funny. That's all.
yeah, understood. Yeah, some of them I've seen they're pretty hysterical. Um, but yeah, that have donut that was like my favorite one so far.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Now, the have blue one, that one was an interesting one. I know you've seen the standard F-117 Nighthawk. That's the standard American stealth fighter that you've
Yeah,
seen.
yeah, the old school one that looked like a batarang, right?
I think that's the B-2 bomber.
Oh yeah, you see what I'm talking about? I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
This thing right here is like a small triangle looking thing
Oh,
that
that thing. Yeah. It's a smaller. Okay, yeah. I remember now. Yeah.
yeah, so that's what that was, and that was built there.
Hmm.
And the other one is kind of like a weird hawk-like bird of prey looking thing. It was the Boeing YF-118G.
Okay.
I don't know too much about that and what that thing did, but it looked almost like an unmanned aircraft, but I don't think it was. I think it was just another version of the Nighthawk, in my opinion, just the Boeing version versus the what I think would be the Lockheed Martin one. But all this information I gathered from the History Channel, so take it with a grain of salt. That's what I got
Well,
from there.
I'm looking at the one you just mentioned, the YF-118G. That thing doesn't even look like it would fly, let alone
Yeah, the picture that I saw, it didn't even have wings on it at the
it.
time.
It looks like a fucking suppository, if I'm being honest.
Probably what it was designed to go fuck
Right,
somebody.
right in the ass.
Right up the ass.
Sorry. But I mean, obviously these guys have partook in some sort of hallucinogens. That's all I'm saying.
Something. And well, some of these
Mm.
engineers, I mean, granted, and I've worked with several engineers. I used to work for a DoD contractor, so I understand like the reasons why you don't want to, you know, go and storm Area 51, for example.
Well,
Now, the difference between where I worked and where Area 51 is actually a military base. I
mhm,
work for a DoD contractor.
right.
What's the difference? One of them has guns, the other one has a cop that is sitting on the sidelines waiting for stuff to happen.
Right, for sure. Yeah. Well, and I mean, as like when that kid did that, whatever it was back in the day, the Storm Area 51, it was cute, like the equivalent of a high school voting for the dork, and then everybody does it, and then the dork is now prom king.
There you go.
That's how this Storm Area 51 thing kicked in.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I mean, I saw the footage of it. It was cool. It was just a bunch of geeks going out there and trying to have fun. No one tried to do anything. No, but don't get me wrong, there was a staunch military presence there
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
like if you if you guys try, we will delete your life bar
Yeah.
permanently.
I don't know if you actually saw the military buildup or not, but I was watching the news and I saw the increased security, we'll just say.
Increased
And
security.
yeah, and I'll just go ahead and tell you, I don't care if they would have all ran at the same time. There would have been no way anybody would have got within 15 miles of that place.
Well, no, not even that. And then they would have, wiped everybody out and then flashy thinged everybody from Men in Black.
That's right.
No one would remember it happened.
Well, speaking of flashy thingy,
Personal.
not going to talk about your after podcast fun there, but
Rude.
no, but you can't really talk about Area 51 unless you bring up the infamous Bob Lazar.
Speaking of Bob Lazar, I just watched it's called Bob Lazar Area 51 and Flying Saucers, a documentary. Really well done, actually. When I got it on Amazon to watch it, I think it's available on YouTube as well. But we'll put a link for it so people can watch it. This thing is extremely well done. And when you listen to him talk about this, you hear the conviction in his voice. So I personally think he's telling the truth.
Right. Now is that the one that was done by Corbell?
Yes, yeah, Jeremy Corbell. Yeah, it was who it was
Yes.
done by. But he's got 4 names now for some reason. I don't I don't know,
Yeah.
but he's using every name he's got. But no, and it was extremely well done. They had and like I said by the end of it, I'm like, I believe this dude. So,
Right, right. And I've followed the Bob Lazar story, dude, ever since I was 10 years old. And that dude right there got me into the whole thing of aliens and what is out there. Because I used to listen to the Art Bell show, which is coast to coast now.
mhm,
But man, you want to talk about some entertainment, dude. It's just like when he came on there and started talking about his stories, like, well, this is it, you know?
right. Yeah.
This is gonna be all over the news, and it wasn't.
No. And it's because, we can get into government conspiracies about suppression in a minute, but it's just because they don't, you know, people don't have an interest in it, or maybe some people do, but it's a niche area. Some people just don't, care about that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's hard to get that to take off sometimes.
No, and especially back in the day, dude, it was so easy to get labeled as a nut job because, "Oh, aliens, aliens, aliens! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!" And they'll
Hmm.
just label you as a fucking nutbag.
Right.
And I mean, and granted, dude, some of these people that are out there, I swear, they they jump at every conspiracy theory and everything is real and
Hmm.
uh there's just so much out there that they want to jump onto. And granted, some of these conspiracy theories do sound legit, but
Of
some of
course.
them are ultimately bullshit. Now,
Well, yeah.
I want to also say, just because that you are using thought and you hear a story that sounds out of the norm
Hmm.
and you start talking about it, And because you're questioning things and they label you a conspiracy theorist,
Mhm.
don't get upset about that,
No.
because that right there is you're challenging the norm,
Mhm.
and you don't want to be in that group of herd mentality.
No.
Stand out, stand for what you believe in, and if you follow the thread and you find truths to it, there could be something to it.
Well, it's like the old saying, if it looks stupid but it worked, is it stupid?
Yeah.
And that's you can kind of apply that to the same thought is, I mentioned in the last episode that we did about the funeral home thing that, I'm a surgical technologist. I used to work for a huge level one trauma center here in Florida, and there was an incident in Orlando a few years ago involved a shooting in a nightclub. I was working that day. That was
Right.
my shift to work. And then I had people talking about how it was a false flag. It didn't happen. But I'm like, I had to struggle with that level of violence and seeing these wounds on these people. And granted, I wasn't at the club when it got shot up, but you see the aftermath of that, and you're like, who in their right mind would say this was fake?
Right. Now, my question is, were they saying that the event itself was fake, or the reason that they gave for the shooting was fake?
The person that brought it up didn't clarify. They just said it was fake, and that's when I kind of got. I'm like, you're brain dead.
Right. And see, like, there's a lot of things out there that's happened that have actually happened. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
but did it happen the way the official story happened? Like, for example, the JFK assassination,
Right.
the
And that.
now attempted Trump assassination. Are
Right.
things actually lining up the way that they're saying it, or is it a big fucking cover up conspiracy, whatever you want to call it?
Right.
And if you start looking into these things, they label your ass a conspiracy theorist. So,
Right, which is exactly what they're doing to Bob Lazar, and I know they went back and didn't they like redact all of not redact but erase all of his schooling and stuff as well. Like he
yeah,
doesn't exist.
right, right. This
Yeah,
guy went to school in California, I believe, and some other like
yeah. He
notable
went he,
schools.
he went to Caltech. I know that, and then
Right.
I'm not sure if he went to MIT or not as well. But
I'm not sure about that one, but I know he was basically a physicist,
hmm
a theoretical physicist, that is, but he also had a interest in like automotives, like he was building jet cars.
hmm
So I mean, smart fella. Seems
yeah,
like he knows the thing. And I think one of the most interesting things about his story was he when he went out there. If anybody doesn't know the story of Bob Lazar, go watch that video. Basically outline everything that happened. But there were supposedly, from what he said, 9 ships.
hmm
Some of them is what he was considering they were found at an archaeological dig.
really.
So that's interesting.
That is interesting. There is a theory that, aliens are here and they're just underneath the ground, I guess. Well, you know how they talk about how aliens aren't, necessarily extraterrestrial. Some of them are terrestrial aliens. Does that make sense?
One of the stories that David Grush was bringing up, it was like a theory. It wasn't the actual story, but it was interdimensional beings.
Right.
But I know the one that you're talking about with the underground aliens, which is like the tall whites, supposedly.
Right. And, so it also leads a little bit of credence to the Black Pyramid that we discussed, way back when.
Right.
But, who knows? I mean, and it's one of these things that, I personally don't think we're alone. I don't think that the idea, and you and I have said this before, the idea that as vast and as infinitesimal as our universe is to think that we're alone is kind of ridiculous.
Right. Now, with Bob Lazar, they pulled him out of S4 because of his love life fucking up. And so
hmm
he was a security risk because of the fact that they were afraid if his home life was fucked, then he was going
Yeah,
to go and squeal.
because didn't they like tap his phone and they found out his wife was banging somebody else,
Yeah, yeah,
and they
because the thing
because they
was is like,
knew. I mean, I'm not laughing at the guy's pain, but I kind of am. I mean, could you imagine your job knowing before you that your wife is getting stooped? What? I don't know.
right? That's
I
just
mean,
suck.
that's a kick in the nuts.
Well, the whole reason why that she was like going behind his back, like doing the deed, was because she thought that he was because he couldn't talk about his stuff. All he
Right.
had to say was, "I'm going to work. Unfortunately, it's late at night. I have to get on a plane and go out there." And she was like, "You leave for weeks at a time or so, then you come back, and no phone calls, no nothing. Yeah, there's something going on here." So back in the day, I could see where she had suspicion, but
Correct. Yeah.
he
But
couldn't talk about anything.
yeah, because as if he had, discussed it, it's probably probably 32 felonies, you know?
Right, right.
So he has to be able to, that's where a lot of, that's obviously between those two, but it's just, that's where trust comes in, and you have to say, hey, this is my job. I can't talk about it. If I tell you what I'm doing, I'm going to prison.
And another fist fucking they've been giving this guy. And I mean, for all the things that's out there, I guess this right here isn't the worst thing that's happened to him.
Hmm.
But I've watched two videos on Bob Lazar, and I'm not going to mention which videos those are, but they both showed his fucking social security number that was on his W 2. I'm like, can this guy have any fucking privacy at all?
Apparently not.
And he's even admitted
Yeah.
that this is the worst thing possible that's happened to him, that he said he wish he would have kept his mouth shut, and out of everybody that has ever talked about aliens,
Hmm.
this guy himself said, "I am so burnt out on the alien topic,"
Well, of
because you
course,
know how
because
hard it is to get a job when you're known as the alien guy?
yeah, for those people that don't, if you don't watch the documentary that we mentioned before, he came out in 1989 and was saying that he was reverse engineering this extraterrestrial technology.
Right, and that's, the one with, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. They actually have a show on that I like watching. It's about, all the alien disclosure and stuff like that, so he's been bumping elbows with all the great ones, you know?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I guess for me, as far as Area 51 is concerned, like when they started all the testing for nuclear like the Oppenheimer, era of time, that's when they started compartmentalization.
Yeah.
And for people that don't know what that is, that means that you are given the parameters of what you're working on, and that's it. If team A is working on a propulsion system, only team A knows what goes into that. If team B is working on the guidance system, only team B knows about that. And then ever who's pulling the strings or funding this thing are the ones that tie it all together and get the end result. And that way, if one person or the people working on said two parts get compromised in some way, they don't know the whole of the project. So that's what
Well,
compartment.
that's one reason, and the
Yeah.
other reason is they don't want somebody, for example, going to work on their own project that way that knows it all.
Yeah, and it's also probably IP protection too, intellectual property protection as well, because some of this stuff is, and only the government's allowed to steal. By the way,
Right.
not you. You're not allowed to take things from them. They can only take from you.
That is true.
So, yeah,
And, when I was doing my work, I mean, we were only given instructions about what we were doing, and that was it.
yeah, and in all honesty, that's all you need, because sometimes when you're working on this kind of stuff, sometimes it's better just to shut the fuck up,
Oh, I agree.
because especially if you're working on something super secret, and it's like, and and listen, I'm not some bootlicker by any stretch. If anybody that knows me knows that I'm not that kind of person, but sometimes secrecy is good.
Right.
You don't need, like, our enemies don't, and we have a plethora of them. There's a lot of countries that don't like us.
Mhm.
And it's good that they don't know what we have. And that's why I have a huge problem with China buying up property near military installments.
Right. Or buying up any property in America other than a fucking, embassy.
I don't care what they buy. I don't think that it needs to be right next to 29 Palms. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be
Right.
near a fucking military base.
I totally agree there, but I honestly think too that they shouldn't be allowed to buy up large sums of property anyways in our country saying they're an adversary.
Right, exactly.
Like, apparently they're buying up a lot of farming area, but that's a different
Yeah.
topic altogether,
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother show.
right?
So, but going back to, and I remember Bob Lazar was saying that, he was working on these propulsion systems and he was like kind of drawing a diagram and then, but there was also this element. What was it? What was the 115?
115,
And they
which is
said that which is what?
Moscovium.
What is that?
That's the name of the element 115.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, but what does element 115 allegedly do is what I'm asking.
Apparently, that right there, when you blast it with radiation, in these cylinders or in this device, it creates uh, an anti gravity or a reverse gravity thing around, like almost like a force field type thing.
Yeah.
But basically, what it does is it allows the laws of physics to not exist in that little bubble. So, like for example, you know how in our aircraft you got to have those pressure suits.
Right.
They don't need it in that aircraft because the fact of with that anti gravity shield around it that's
Hmm.
causing this thing to fly, it doesn't feel the forces of physics because of that, or the physics is a lot less.
Okay. So you're basically, it's
It
it,
cancels it out.
yeah, it's a physics deleter basically. So it makes things that would be a little more physically impossible to do. Right? Is that basically what I'm hearing?
That's my understanding. It basically allows, you know, beyond supersonic speeds,
Mm.
and the ability to actually. I mean, I'm assuming that now this right here, this information is like shit. I don't know,
Hmm.
but listening to all the talk about the alien stuff that's going on now, like the Tic Tac
Yeah.
going into the water and stuff, and it could just dip into the water like it's no big deal.
Right.
Well, Bob Lazar actually was talking about this. He said they powered it on, and the guy that he was working with said, "Go over there and touch it." And he said it was
Really?
like putting two opposite ends of a magnet, or like poles together of a magnet. How it pushes you away. It
Yeah.
was doing the exact same thing,
You're like, hey, Bobby, go over there and poke it with a stick. Let's see what happens.
right? And of course, Bobby was like, "Sure."
Yeah. God damn it, Bobby. Damn it, Bobby.
So
Jesus
yeah,
Christ. I mean, like, there's not enough money on the fucking planet to get me to go poke the alien technology with a stick. I'm not fucking doing it. Like, I've seen too many horror
right.
movies. Not
And
happening,
the
bud.
whole reason why that Bob got his job was because apparently when they try to like crack into one of these damn uh, units or something like that, it it killed some of the people.
Jesus Christ.
It's like some kind of thermonuclear bomb or some shit that went off.
I mean,
It's
okay.
like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah. Try it again. Send in 5 more yuppies. We'll get them in here and we'll just nuke them. We don't give a shit.
Who else we have that's a smart dumbass? Let's figure them out.
Yeah. As
What
I
about
like to
this
say,
guy that just created this fucking jet car that from Alameda Labs?
oh,
Let's grab
that,
that guy.
oh,
Yeah, get
that's
him in here.
that's Bobby Lazar, as in laser. Sorry, I'm back. Jesus
Right?
Christ. Who's going to listen to this shit?
I don't know.
Sorry, folks. We're idiots.
Yep. But they're paying the price for it, whether they want to or not.
Yeah. We're going to give you a migraine one way or another.
That's right.
So smart. We're stupid.
But
but no,
the whole thing that I was thinking of, like with all this alien technology and shit, this
yeah.
is my take on it, and you tell me if you follow.
Okay.
I don't think that any of this alien shit that we've been seeing, like the Tic Tac and whatnot, is actually, you know, an actual alien that's driving it. I honestly think it is whomever the fuck that was at Area 51 S4 area
Hmm.
that was figuring this shit out. They actually made breakthroughs because he said after he left, Bob Lazar said after he left that they made some kind of major breakthrough. So,
Hmm.
I mean, you have a bunch of monkeys around a motorcycle. Eventually, they're going to figure out how to make the damn thing work, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's that, yeah. It's that old, if you give a monkey a typewriter, you'll eventually get Shakespeare.
There you go.
You
It
know,
is too much, right?
yeah. So I mean, but and then and who knows? Like I think I've said before on the show that the Tic Tacs could be ours. You
Yeah,
know,
that's what I'm saying,
there's
and that's why they're
yeah,
not wanting to talk about it.
yeah, and I mean it's just I think that people and myself included, we like to make things more grandiose than they need to be.
Right.
But yet I do believe that there are extraterrestrials out there. Like there was the incident in South America.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, the school thing.
Yeah, well, there was also there was the one with the I forget where when it happened, but there was a cop. He had picked up one of these creatures in a took it to a hospital, and he wound up dying of some sort of radiation sickness. And like one of our alphabet groups in this country, the powers that be, came and took it, and that poor guy wound up like his skin like melted off his bones.
What are you talking about exactly?
You haven't heard this? Hold on.
Because yeah, the only South American thing that I know of was, a an alien ship supposedly landed in a schoolyard or near a schoolyard, and all these kids at recess saw the thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it was supposedly sending out, telepathic messages to the kids, and, like, some of the kids wanted to run away, but they couldn't, they were just kinda froze there,
Mm-mm. No, this
and
is something. Yeah, this is something different. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. It crash landed somewhere. Maybe it been fucking Brazil.
no idea. Well, back to the show.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about, this whole Bob Lazar thing and how he actually got lambasted by everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the world actually owes him an apology for that bullshit because the fact that, yeah, he was one of the first ones that came out and said it. Yeah, that was a no no.
Yeah.
However, David Grush went through all the proper channels to talk about things, and yeah, he was getting his ass handed to him left and right too. And there's like, we're not gonna, verify any of this stuff, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to talk about, go ahead. But
Right.
yeah, it's just like when David Grush came out, the first thing I thought about everything that he was saying had Bob Lazar wrote all over it,
Right.
and I was just like, well, this is pretty much the same stories that Bob was saying, and from looking at some of these ships and stuff like that they've caught on tape, like the Tic Tac, which could be you know, uh, I guess a disc if you think about it. But if it was an actual, flying suppository, as you would call it,
Right.
when people heard about this stuff, a lot of these people wasn't even born when Bob Lazar came out. So the David Grushing was a new thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing.
I think I found it.
All right, what you got?
So there was this, in 1996, there's this thing. It's called the Virginia UFO incident, where the residents of this little town in Brazil claimed that there was a bunch of UFOs in the sky and all this, and then there was actually a police officer that was killed because he came in contact with these creatures, and of course, the our government came in and swooped in and took all the evidence away. Now, there's some stuff in there that's a little bit weird, like some of the women claim that one of the that they were impregnated by the creatures and all this stuff. So that could just be someone just trying to hype it up and get attention. I don't know if it's a widely known incident or not, but it's definitely.
Well, that's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think I heard it on Rogan because I listen to him when I'm in the gym and all that. So
I'll have to do some research on this. So that's very interesting.
yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely do your own research. I was just sitting here and it just popped back into my head. So it was just a little corner that I thought was cool. But to see all this stuff throughout the world. Now, do I think that there are aliens at Area 51? No, I don't. If there's going to be aliens, that's going to be a separate facility where they handle all that.
And a lot of people think that the crash in Roswell was sent out to Area 51, but the thing is,
Hmm.
freaking Area 51 wasn't created until 1955,
Hmm.
and Roswell crash happened in 1947.
Oh, yeah. So there you go. So I mean, the timeline's not right.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I just don't. I mean, I think deep down inside, I think Area 51 is just a research facility.
And I do too.
Yeah, I don't think that there's little green or gray guys kicking around there. I don't think that's where they invented the iPhone or any shit like that.
Right.
I think the reason why people put so much on it is because, what's the thing that denial and denying somebody something is the best way to whet their appetite, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, uh, if you leave a void, somebody's brain is going to fill it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is us as human beings, we crave that the unknown, and it's like the same thing with religion and all that.
Yeah, the mystery is just like
Yeah.
phenomenal, and that's really what you're craving. And your brain's going to fill in the gaps of when somebody, says something. Like, for example, when somebody asks somebody a question in Congress, and like the person that they're interviewing or throwing under the bus says, "I cannot, you know, I cannot."
Deny or confirm, or just like that the woman that just stepped down from the Secret Service. I watched some of her hearing because I got that kind of time. And she's like, but you and I were talking about that off air, and it's like those hearings it's the most like it's just a kangaroo court. It's not even anything. It's like,
It's basically the government saying, "Hey, look, we're actually doing something about it." But
but we're not.
yeah, I will actually say, at least she stepped down, but she needs to lawyer up. But that's the last I'll talk about that.
Yeah, no, we don't want to go into that in too great a detail. But
Right.
so I think that, like, Area 51 for us, or at least for me, I can't speak for you obviously, but for me, Area 51 is a research facility where they look at different propulsion systems, whether it be on from this planet or from another country or extraterrestrial or whatever. I just think it's basically just a one big old nerd fest Lego set.
It
You
could
know,
very well be.
it's just
But,
dork.
the main thing that they actually created at Area 51 wasn't anything about propulsion and shit like that. It was basically stealth technology.
Well,
So
there you
the
go. Yeah.
basically the paint that actually went on to the airplanes that absorb the radar material
Hmm.
or the radar
Beams.
blasting it,
Yeah.
yeah, it just absorbed it,
Right.
and that was like one of their big claims to fame
Yeah.
that they didn't really want to let out, but
Right.
now it's
But
out.
now, well, the cat's out of the bag. Good luck getting it back in. You know what
Right?
I was just went down a rabbit hole the other day. You know what I discovered was they have what is it, RFID? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah.
RFID paint that
Oh
you
yeah.
can paint inside. I mean, what kind of fucking conspiracy nut? I mean, like what? Like, listen,
What's it gonna
I
help? I mean, I'm gonna paint
yeah,
my whole
well,
fucking bedroom with RFID paint. What?
only thing it's gonna do is lower your Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, I was just
So
weird. I
is it
mean, like,
anti RFI?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's anti RFI. Like if somebody, like, if someone's outside your house, they can't. I'm like, but dude,
Your house now becomes a Faraday cage. Good
right?
luck getting any cell phone signal.
And that too, and also it's like I don't, and like I'm all for liberty. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I'm not doing anything, my brother in Christ. I'm not like what? Why do they need to watch me? They just want to watch me cry. I mean, there's nothing there, brother. I mean, so I mean, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, do you agree that it's like a research facility?
Oh yeah, I totally agree that it's a military research facility.
Yeah.
What S4 does, and I will say, I don't know what S4 does if it even
Mhm.
exists anymore because of all the plethora of, uh,
Leaks.
un- yeah, of unwanted, eyes on that they got right now.
Yeah.
But do I think that there's any kind of alien technology that is there now? No, because I think they've pushed that off into a lesser known area.
Yeah, of course. And that makes a lot more sense because, and that way that they can take the heat from that and put it on Area 51, and then that way it's like, "Hey, oh look, another Tic Tac." Yeah.
Right. And here's another thing too I want to point out. A lot of the people that live around that area
Mhm.
that they always say that they see UFOs. You're seeing actually test flights, dude.
Right.
You're not seeing any fucking aliens. You're seeing test flights. Now, there was a deal that had in Arizona, which I think we talked about it in our conspiracy theory speed round,
Hmm.
the Arizona lights.
Yes.
And basically, it was like a bunch of lights that was they were trying to push off as fucking uh, some kind of like signal flares, but signal flares they go up in the sky and then they fall down and they
Right.
burn out. These things right here stayed perfectly still, but one would brighten up, the next one would brighten up, the next one would brighten up, no
Hmm.
drop.
Right.
So things like that that occur, um, I have no explanation for it. What was it? Who fuck knows? It could have been a military exercise,
Hmm.
which is the general statement for any of this stuff. But supposedly, of course, they're not going to admit to it that if they were doing any kind of training rounds or anything with their technology that they're trying out, they're going to deny the shit out of it. And I think that what you were saying earlier and what we were talking about earlier with, your brain is going to fill in the gaps when they deny shit. There you
Hmm.
go. Just
Yeah.
look, we were fucking training something. Just chill out.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's just, I don't know, man. And that's, we can sit here and wax philosophical about it until we're dead. Is I mean, and here's the thing: the government's going to do what they're going to do, and that's going to be the extent of it. And it doesn't, and if it doesn't affect my day to day life, like if it's not making a longer lasting light bulb or some shit, I don't care.
Right, right.
you know.
But I will tell you, there are some things that I do find interesting. When Bob Lazar was saying that we had 9 different aircraft of, alien ships that he saw,
Hmm.
I say that's interesting. I mean, Bob hasn't given me a reason to not believe him.
No, me either. Like and it's because his story, and from what I can tell, his story has not changed. It's been the same the entire time, to the point where he's like, "I'm sick of talking about this shit."
Yeah,
Because he doesn't. He's like, "I have no need to change my story because I've said it."
yeah,
And it's like, so just by his conviction alone makes me want to say, "Hey, the dude's legit." You know,
right. But, I'm just saying, with the 9 aircraft that they found, I like to know where they found them.
right?
I mean, if it was archaeological digs and stuff like that, that they found, let's just say every one of them, that would be interesting. And
Yeah.
what caused these aircraft to fail and be covered by debris? I mean, I'm sure that let's just go out on a limb here. Let's say
Hmm.
that before even the dinosaurs were on the earth, that there was something going around. Who
Hmm.
knows? I mean, you had the story of Anunnaki, Nibiru, all that bullshit, which is
Hmm.
something I would like to cover in a future episode. Um, I say bullshit jokingly. I'm just saying that that's in general, that's what it is.
Hmm.
But it's like there's so much out there that we will never know about.
Right.
If you look at the ancient Egyptians, and I forget which uh, which building it was in, but have you seen those petroglyphs that they had? They look like helicopters and spaceships and shit like that.
Yes, I vaguely remember seeing something like that a long time ago.
Yeah, it's like a little spot like that's over a door arch or like at a top of a column or something like that.
Hmm.
But it actually shows what clearly looks like a fucking helicopter, what clearly looks like an airplane, what clearly looks like spaceship. Plus, I think they even found, I don't know if it was in Egypt or if it was in where the Aztecs were in one of these
Hmm.
buildings. They found like this thing that looked like an airplane, and somebody actually built a scale model of that toy that they found, and it turned out that it was pretty much aerodynamic. It would fly.
See, stuff like that just boggles my mind. Like, how are these ancient civilizations seeing stuff that we have
Right.
today? So I don't know. It might give some more credence to the Younger Dryas impact theory. You know what I mean? Like where
Sure.
like where we have all these advanced civilizations and we just keep getting wiped out at a certain point and we just start from scratch all over again. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, you got to think we had all this technology back in the day. I mean, we may not have had cell phones and shit, but whatever they had at the time was pretty cutting edge. I mean, you got to think things that they don't talk about from back in the day is, people brushing their teeth. People were clean. They showered. They took baths or whatever they did.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk about a lot of that stuff. They had brain surgery. They had dental work that was done that's been known.
Mm-hmm.
All these things, it's like things that we have going on today. You didn't, you don't know how they did that,
Right.
and even to the point of just even building the pyramids, they don't know how they were building it. And on top of that, how they built the pyramids and how they carried that stone so far downrange from where that stone was actually located.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is we don't truly know how old those are. They're
Right.
thinking it was, back when the Egyptian Empire was there, but there's actually been suggestions that those things lasted even longer than that.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah. But I mean, but I think we can safely wrap up the Area 51 topic. And obviously we'll bring it back up later, in future episodes. But my end of it is, I think, just research facility. If there's aliens, it's somewhere where we don't know about, and they can keep them there because I don't need their bug juice on me.
You don't want to, have an alien use you as a suit, basically.
No, I
No
mean,
flashy thingy for you, sir.
no, flashy things are fun. I mean, I could maybe erase my childhood. That'd be great.
Well, we're talking about aliens and such like that. There is a group of people out there that don't believe in any of that bullshit. And it's not the normal people that you would think it would be.
Oh yeah, who might it be?
Flat earthers. You ever heard of them?
Yeah, I have, and you just came up with the next episode.
All right. Where can they find us?
YouTube, Spotify, Truth Social, Rumble, pretty much everything that has a podcast in it, Tim.
There you go. And as always,
Follow the questions.
find the truth.